My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
I think I regularly listen, and I think I've noticed several times where a lot of the guests are like, "Oh, do we start?"
Yes, it does happen a lot. I do sometimes when I do them over the phone, I will be like, just to let you know, we are recording, so don't say anything incriminating.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But yeah, we are recording, so we'll get into the conversation. You filmed a dry bar, and what spot did you say you got to go on that?
I was the third spot. So
okay, so you're closing out the show.
I was the quote-unquote headliner, even though everybody does the same amount of time. You know what was tough for me when that happened? So I think they're Mountain Time. I think they're Mountain Time, I want to say.
Yeah, I think they are too. Yeah, they're Mountain Time.
So going on last, you do 2 sets of taping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So going on last, I hit the stage at like 11:15 local time, which was like 12:15 in the morning as to what I was used to.
Oh yeah.
I was dragging, but they take good care of you out there, and boy, they had all kinds of some Red Bull and some Mountain Dew, and I think I was more physical than I usually am anyway.
Yeah, they got that green room pretty well stocked. That's good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully, like I said, it'll get rescheduled because I am looking forward to doing it. It's interesting too because you did the dry bar and then you independently produced a video special, right? Almost immediately after. What inspired you to do that? Did you feel like that was gonna hurt your activity with dry bar as far as getting streams and numbers out of that at all?
I really didn't know what to expect. So I had been talking to Dry Bar for a while, but didn't actually have a date. In the meantime, I had been planning for a while also to independently do a special and then sell it on whatever platforms were willing. We've got some nibbles now. I got the final edit finally. But the church where I was going to film, like every weekend where like I was available, production crew's available, we reached to the church and they go, we can't do it that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So then it got to the point, it was like, we could do this date in the summer, that date in the summer. And I was like, we're not going to have enough people in the audience, I don't think, if we do it in the summer. So let's push it to fall. So we agreed to, I think I taped September 29, I want to say the date was. And Dry Bar called me mid-June, I want to say, and said, let's do, I think it was September 5. And so I wasn't about to say no to either one or switch things up. So that's how that all kind of
came together. So you already had the independent thing already in the works. So, okay, yeah. That makes more sense. Because I wondered about that because I was like, well, geez, that's a pretty brash thing to do. You get a Dry Bar special and then almost a month later, you're like, I'm filming my own too. I'll show you. You're going to compete with me.
And I halfway thought, maybe is there a way I can push the taping of my own special back or whatever, but it was so hard to link up 3 busy schedules. And plus I already paid the deposit to the production crew. So what are you going to do?
No, absolutely. By that time you gotta go through with it. That totally makes sense with that. So you're still working on the final production of that. Have you heard as far as when your dry bar is going to come out, or has it come out?
Oh, it's out.
Oh, it is out. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's called Neighborhood Sasquatch. And let's see. It's on their platform. They've done a couple Facebook clips and some YouTube clips. So it's out there. The best part is you have to if you have thick skin, read the comments, what people say about you, and
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if once I'm able to get it scheduled again and film it and they get it out there, I don't know that I'll be watching or looking at those. I have a thick skin, but there's a lot of trolls out there,
oh,
as you can probably tell now.
And they were fairly soft on me. And what's kind of odd though is I don't know if you'd really call it a Christian platform, but it has the feel of a Christian platform.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because they are typically just clean comedy. So,
right.
I mean, they're.
So you would think that it's not going to bring out, so many trolls to make fun of the comedians in the show. So I had one guy recently was on there, and he does some bits where he sort of makes fun of liberals. Well, then here come all the comments of, well, I'm a liberal and you're not funny, And so I had to send him a message and say, that, dude, if you're going to talk politics, just be aware that whatever side is opposed to you is going to tell you you're not funny because they want to shake you up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's it's fine. I mean, I feel like anything on the internet just brings out the trolls now. It's really sad because even but it also goes to show you that with comedy, even it doesn't matter, if it's billed quote unquote Christian comedy, clean comedy, whatever. Comedy's comedy. Funny's funny. It doesn't matter, and people are going to be looking for the comedy. So that's one thing. But I feel like them being clean has really helped excel them, online because it's safe for work. People can share this stuff at work and not get in trouble and, things like that. So it really helps, get for people to share their content and stuff and get those views out.
Sure. Absolutely. It's been a great platform for me. I got a ton of new followers to my Facebook page and several new subscribers to my YouTube page. I should probably do a better job of promoting the YouTube page. I think I have about 40 subscribers. Probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit ahead of you, but not very far. I'm the same. I've just now been kind of trying to promote the YouTube page a little more than I had prior. But yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting because I always wondered that too about that, how your following would increase with that. Do you think so? Since you did the dry bar, it's come out, it's getting the views, you're getting more followers and stuff. Do you feel like it's going to help once your independent special comes out? You suppose it's going to help with that, get the sales and the streams for that?
Well, I sure hope so. I think I increased my Facebook page around a third boost.
Oh, wow.
So I think it was teetering around 1,000. I think about 1,500 follow the Facebook page now, somewhere in there. So who knows? And boy, I got a ton. I've got a link on my website where people can sign up to the email list. I got a ton of people signed up just to the email list.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so maybe between the two, when everything's finally out and distributed and I get the actual, notices out to the fan groups, then maybe that's something that'll help. We'll see.
Oh, well, yeah, hopefully with the email list. Because I don't know if you're familiar with Zoltan. He was he did the dry bars, one of the first dry bars, and he just released an independent special himself, and he's he put it up on YouTube, and he put it up for free, did a fundraiser thing with it this time, but he it's got over 100,000 views, and a lot of his views and followers and fans I think came from his dry bar special that he originally did. So you can definitely take the exposure from that and apply it to your own independent stuff, which I think is really great because nowadays I feel like you really have to create your own path, and be willing to do some independent stuff like that.
Yeah, I know you did a special yourself there, so mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to say, but mine I think altogether between the production crew and paying the extra helpers that came and buying dinner for everybody and all that stuff, I think I'm in, I want to say around 7,000 or 7,500, something like that is what I spent.
Wow. But for a good produced, video, that's not bad. I was fortunate. I had a friend that's a filmmaker and a commercial, producer and stuff like that. So he had all the equipment, and we didn't really require a lot of camera people. He was able to set up some stationary stuff. It was real low budget, independent. And the venue, I'd worked with the venue quite a bit before, so like everything kind of came together pretty good for me. So
Oh, that works out. I have a degree in television production, and it really had me wishing I paid attention in college and didn't party the whole time, because I had no idea.
right.
I was like, I bet I could have done this myself with a few people that had a general idea of what they were doing, but if I actually paid attention instead. But my motto then was "C's get degrees." So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm sure once you get it released, and with the buildup of your email list and stuff, like, I'm sure that'll help. It's always scary. That's the one thing, when you do stuff independently, you don't know if you're going to make your money back. Like, even though my special that I did, and it's not a full comedy special, it's a one-man show, so it's more of a performance piece. And I maybe had probably less than $1,000 into it when it's all said and done. I mean, unless you count all the time I spent traveling to work the show out and things like that, because I didn't make a lot of money doing the show. I did it quite a bit for practically nothing, just because I was trying to get it polished and ready to film. But I still don't think I've made my money back, even though I'm like, and that's the risk that you take, is that when you do independent stuff, you put your own money into it, and you get to, have complete creative control and everything, which is great. But at the same time, it's a big investment because you might not make it back.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't expect to directly make the money back. I've got a distribution group that's been talking to me right now, and they're saying, don't count on making your money back directly through, you get, however much for each download on whatever platform you're on, or you can just sell it outright. But between that, they're telling me don't plan on making a whole lot of money off of that stuff, and they can get my DVDs into the mom and pop bookstores around the country still. But they're saying the most profitable way still is just back of the club sales with the DVD.
Yeah.
But my plan is to indirectly make the money back by sort of legitimizing my comedy, and then therefore I can raise my fee and I can draw a bigger crowd, even if I'm doing door deals or something like that. So between the two, I think I'll make extra money that way too.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of what you really have to look at that. It's not, when you look at a gig, like even Dry Bar is a good example of that. You look at it as, okay, I'm probably not going to make a ton of money from this, but it'll help legitimate me as a performer and help maybe build a following a little bit, which then, like you said, then you can raise your rates because people will potentially come see you. You'll have a bigger draw, all those different things. So when you're like taking bookings like this and doing, independent shows like you did too, you really have to look at that. That's like forward thinking. It's like, how can I use this to propel future sales, as opposed to how can I make my money from selling just this product, which is really good thinking.
Thanks, man. Yeah, when I was originally taking college seriously, I was a business major, which is where all this came from. And then once I decided to party through college, that's when I switched to TV production. So
you're like, I'm having too much fun partying. I need a degree that'll be easy to get and also allow party time. It's funny. I went to college once for like 6 weeks, and then I dropped out. And but now I'm going back to school. I'm almost done with my degree now. But Yeah, the first time around, I was too busy, not one to study.
Oh yeah, I lived it, man. I somehow got through, but yeah.
Yeah, it took me starting comedy to be like, oh wait, this is fun, but I should have a backup plan. A lot of people drop out of college to pursue stand up. I pursued stand up so I'd go back to college. I do everything backwards.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's awesome that you got that stuff coming up. But
Yep.
we're gonna get into the art of bombing, and I'm gonna let you tell a story about a time when you felt like you bombed or it was just a really bad show. So go
So,
ahead.
how much time you got, man?
Well, I try to keep them out to an hour, so you don't have to
Oh,
tell
okay.
every story.
So, let's see. I've been doing comedy. I want to say, which I'm looking at the date here. 2020. I've been doing comedy approaching 19 years now. Okay, so I've kind of figured out recently that even the tightest of audiences, I can make it at least okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but these stories I'm about to share are from like the past when I hadn't really figured that much out. So, my one of my favorites, Dan, I'll tell you. I don't like to do private events in which the event is about someone.
Oh
So
yeah,
if it's
yeah, like a special, like a birthday or a retirement thing or something like that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
bingo, yep, because the audience in general feels like you're trying to take attention away from the people who deserve the attention that day, and they're usually pretty tough crowds anyway. But one summer, several years ago, I had, I think, like nothing on the calendar. Uh, I'm in Springfield, Illinois. These people were from Indianapolis. It was somebody's birthday party, which is about 3 hours away, which is a pretty easy drive for what we do. And they offered me a pretty good chunk of change to go. So it's like, it's probably going to be terrible, but I'll do it, right? So
We've all said that phrase. That is, I feel like that is a common phrase that comedians have said. It's not
yes.
worth. It's
So
not worth the money, but I'll do it.
yeah. So it's in this like hot new trendy Chinese restaurant in Indianapolis, and originally the group was just going to be out with everybody else, and I pushed and pushed to get us in a like the party room. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so at least it's in a more of a private setting that way. So we get in there. It's kind of a long rectangular room with 2 long rows of banquet tables. So it's probably like 3 consecutive 8-foot tables, and then another row of 3 straight 8-foot tables. Okay, so this group is all in one row, and then I'm looking for the best place to set up. So I decide, I guess the head of the table is the best place to be. So I get there. So then meanwhile, this restaurant just keeps getting more and more packed, right? And eventually the management comes to the birthday party people and they're like, hey, do you mind if we seat some people in the party room here with you? And they're like, oh yeah, of course, no problem. So they seat all these people in the room also at the other row of tables. But now the room has become so full that I can no longer even be at the head of the table where I want to be. So I have to move all my sound gear to to the entrance of the room. So now, like I said, it was a rectangular room. I'm trying to think of my geometry terms here. I'm basically in the center of the long part of the rectangle. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Then directly in front of me is the long row of the people who aren't even there to see me at all. And then beyond them is the group of people for the birthday party. Okay. So I have to do the show trying to like talk over the first row of tables to talk to the birthday party people. Okay. And the first row of tables, I tried to engage them to make the, I tried to engage the first row of tables, but they wanted no part of me. They were not interested, and I can't blame them. They weren't there. Did you notice I'm holding my hand up like I'm talking in the microphone?
We're used to it. It's funny because I actually have a real microphone. I just don't have. I'm not holding it.
Yeah, that's funny. So I try to engage them. They do not want to be engaged, and of course, you can't blame them because they're not there to see me anyway. And so I try to talk to the other group, and I'm losing them also because remember, half of them have their backs to me naturally, and they can't even turn around. It's so crowded in there. They're kind of like turned half sideways with their head looking over the shoulder, kind of. Now, on top of that, I'm at the entrance of the room. So directly behind me is the main walkway for all the people in the restaurant to get to the buffet. So every time I start talking, you get a couple drifters walk in. Oh, hey, what's this guy doing over here? So if you can imagine, every time you get into a joke, some random person essentially walks up next to you on the stage.
Oh, I don't have to imagine. I did a fundraiser one time, and it was I was basically performing in the middle of the banquet, like on the dance floor, and behind me they had all the food set up, and the bar was right behind me. So like while I was performing, people were getting up, and they had silent auction items everywhere. So people were walking around looking at silent auction items, getting food from the food line and drinks from the bar. That was all like behind me and the side, right next to me. So I totally feel your pain right now.
And since then, when I do corporate events, I send the client even sort of like sample layouts of how the room should be set up. If you got DJ or buffet or dance floor or whatever it may be, the best place to have the comedian perform from. But yeah, so that one was a hot mess, and yeah, that guy's birthday was not a lot of fun for him.
Yeah, I imagine. Did he know that there was gonna be a comedy as part of his birthday, or was that like? Because I did that one time. I did a birthday party. I didn't book the gig. A friend of mine did, and he brought me along to open for him, and it was a birthday party. A surprise birthday party for this woman. So she didn't even know there was going to be comedy at her birthday. And there's
they introduce you and it's like, I hate comedians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you're coming in, she's like, I hate comedy. Did you guys know? Oh, wait, there's a comedy show? Oh, man. Yeah, good times. That was funny because at that show, I got heckled by like an 8-year-old. I'll never forget it. That's right.
And that's tough. I do a ton of church events, and there's generally kids in the audience. And if you've got an unruly kid, that's a tough thing to address because, but you'll flip the audience quick if you if you do anything to that kid. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that was what was with that situation too. Like, so there was like kids kind of sitting up front, and it was almost like when the comedy show started, the parents wanted nothing to do with their children anymore. They're like, now it's our entertainment. And their kids were running around like they were where we were performing. They're running behind us. They're running in front of us. They were like playing and just being kids, to be expected. But you couldn't say anything. But the parents weren't doing anything about it either. They like checked out. They're like, we're done being parents. Make us laugh, comedians.
Yeah. Now, the toughest one. I know you said you're from South Dakota. Do you live in South Dakota currently?
No, currently I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I moved a year ago. Actually, a year ago today, the U-Haul picked up my stuff. I saw that in my memories.
Oh, cool. So this one would have been around the same time frame It's my last story there. That was, I want to say 08, 09, something like that.
Mhm.
There was a quick run in South Dakota. You did Aberdeen and Brookings. Okay. And at the
Man, that must have been a
time,
while ago.
yeah, yeah. So at the time, they had, when you're trying to break in with comedy agencies, you're driving 8 hours to get $100 just to kind of get on these people's radar, show you can do a good job, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't remember which town was which, but I got booked only for one of them. And then the agency called me like 2 days before and said, hey, we got another gig, same state next night, if you want to do that one also. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, But it made me wonder, something is up, because they wouldn't have just thrown it at me. So, didn't quite add up, right? So I get there, and I see all these posters up for some hypnotist. And I was talking to the owner of this bar, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I have never worked with a hypnotist. I'm looking forward to seeing one. And he's like, oh, yeah, the hypnotist canceled last minute. You're the show.
Oh,
and I was like,
and so real quick before you get into this, were you at this time the feature? Were you opening or were you headlining? Did you headline the show the night before, or were you the feature?
I was featuring back then.
Okay, so you come to this thinking you're the feature act for somebody else, which turns out you thought it was a hypnotist.
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. So when I get in there, I get to talking to the guy, and he's like, "Yeah, we're just now getting comedy rolling. We bought a ton of radio ads advertising this hypnotist is going to be here, but we decided not to pull the ads because we already paid for them. So at the very least, people are going to be aware there's a show." I don't know. Well, yeah. And I was like, and so I was like, wait, are you telling the people? He's like, oh yeah, we'll tell him. And I was like, okay. So, and people are coming in, packed room. I bet it seated 120 or so, and it was packed. And all these people that are coming in are, pushing their buddies and having a good time. Oh, I can't wait. You're going to get hypnotized. Oh, you are. No, you. So, and I'm just sitting in the back watching this.
Oh, my God.
And I'm just, oh, no. So, and also to make things more difficult, this is in, I don't know if it's going to ring a bell to you, whichever town between Brookings and Aberdeen, but it was in a Holiday Inn, and the basement of the Holiday Inn had this huge bar in it. And it was the ceilings were about 6'8", okay, with an elevated stage. And I'm 6'7".
Oh, jeez.
So before I tell you about what else happened, so I already know it's going to be tough for me. In that situation, in general, I would just not stand on the stage. I'd stand down on the floor.
Yeah.
But remember, it's packed, and the tables are right up on the stage. So I got nowhere to go. So I'm waiting for the guy to introduce me up to the stage. And the owner goes up. He says, you guys all ready? Have some fun tonight. Yeah. He goes, I know you're all excited to see the hypnotist. Yeah. He goes, well, he canceled. Oh.
No.
But don't worry. We found a comedian last minute. Don't know how good he is. Please welcome Jeremy Nunes.
Oh, man.
That's how I was brought to the stage. And I remember, and I can't get up on this, stand up normal on the stage, so I had to stand almost like a vulture. I was like had my head almost at 90-degree angle with my neck. You know,
Just the visual of that is really funny.
and they were not fans of the non-hypnotic comedy show.
Well, I'm sure not. I mean, that's an ultimate bait and switch right there. You know, especially when, I mean, yeah, you don't pull the ads, but if you could have maybe changed the ads last minute, or at least when people were coming in, tell them as they're coming in to say, you know, whoever's taking tickets, be like, hey, just to let you know, we, you know, the hypnotist canceled, but we have a comedian. It'll still be a great show. We understand if you want your money back or whatever. And, you know, kind of at least been honest with that, because as soon as that owner said that there was no hypnotist and they were all excited for that, that crowd already hated you. You didn't even have to be introduced. You were already hated. Nobody liked you. What, you know, and they hadn't even met you, and it wasn't your fault. It was because the bar, pardon my French, but it was because the bar did a bait and switch on you. On them. Wow.
And what's funny, so I featured, they got a headliner last minute also.
Okay, so
and he wouldn't go up. He said, he told the owners, this room is not savable, and it has nothing to do with what Jeremy did. You guys did this. And he said, I can't do anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they still paid us. And you know, they gave a good review to the booker too, because, you know, I got like 10 weeks after that. So I don't know if they felt bad or what, because I thought for sure, man, I drove 8 hours for $100 for nothing. But it paid off.
Yeah, well, that's good that it worked out that way. Yeah, I mean, that had to have been a while, because it's been a while since they did comedy in Aberdeen or Brookings, as far as the rooms that were kind of together. Because those rooms were, I think they were going when I first started doing comedy, which was a long time ago now. But yeah, that's interesting. I can't believe that they just didn't tell people. That's ridiculous. That blows my mind. Like, I get you already paid for the advertising, and by that time it is probably too late to do anything with that. But at least tell people as they're coming in, so they have that warning, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now I could tell you, so those are my two big bomb stories. Now I could tell you about a couple shows that went off the rails if you want.
Well, I want to get into some other stuff.
Okay.
With that kind of ties in with this part of it. Like, when you're in these situations, or like when you have a bad set or whatever, feel like you bombed or whatever, what are some of the things you're doing to try to improve? Like, what do you watch your video or listen to your audio, and how do you break it down and try to figure out what are you trying to analyze from a set?
If it's well, like I said, they don't typically go bad anymore. There's kind of okay, but so even those, you know, it's frustrating. I guess I have sort of the same feeling as a bomb, because they had to work so hard just to make it okay. I guess, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to act like I don't bomb, but so it's I write it off. So if it was not good, I don't listen to the video, or I don't listen to the audio, don't watch the video. It's deleted and gone. I'm done with it.
You just pretend it didn't happen.
Yes. So
removed from the memory bank.
Right. Yeah. I don't think there's a point to, in my humble opinion, I don't think there's a reason to revisit, because generally speaking, I know what happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, you've kind of already analyzed it by the time you're off stage. I did get what you're saying, because a lot of times when I have a bad set, I already kind of, as it's going bad, I'm already processing and analyzing what's going wrong and trying to figure out how to fix it or whatever. And then by the time I'm done, I already know what happened, whether it was something in the environment or my sets or whatever, or I said something and lost the audience or whatever.
Right. And you've been doing, I think I've heard you say 10 years. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been doing it long enough also that you can, you know, a lot of times you can kind of recognize, in my earlier years, or for newer comedians, a lot of times you don't really realize what happened until afterwards, if maybe like the headliner points out to you something you did or
Oh,
said.
yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely had that where I've had, veteran comics point out some stuff that would have improved my set had I, been had I known to do that or whatever. And then, you take their advice on it, and the set improves usually.
Sure. Yeah. Um, I'm trying. I'm trying not to. I just want to be clear, Dan. I'm not trying to make it sound like I never bomb. I'm just saying when it's tough, I can still kind of make it okay, which still has the feel of a bomb to me, whereas the audience probably, I think, is sort of like, he was okay.
Oh yeah, well,
You know what
and
I mean?
I totally get what you're saying. I've had plenty of sets where I felt like it was a bomb, but the audience thought exactly. They probably thought the show was okay. I did fine, but to me, I knew things went wrong. I knew couple jokes didn't work, or whatever it might have been. And in my head, I'm like, this was a bomb.
Yeah.
Because then after the show, you have people that come up and they're like, "Oh, that was great. I had a great time. It was such a good show. You did so good." And you're like, "Were we in the same room? Were we at the same show? What's going on? How many hallucinogens did you take before?" It's like, what is this madness? And then, you've been doing comedy for quite a while. You said almost 20 years, so I'm sure this has changed throughout the years. But the bumming of bombing, that dreadful feeling when you do have a bad set or an okay set, how long does that feeling typically last for you or bother you?
Present day, that lasts for me, I don't know, maybe an hour. An hour max. If I'm close enough that I'm home before, like less than an hour drive, usually by the time I get home, I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
If I've got a long drive, usually it takes about an hour, and then I'm done with it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I know. I'm still haunted by some of them. Think back at some of these shows, but they make for great stories. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. And I know some guys really hang on to them for a long time, and maybe that's just another thing that comes with experience, Dan. I do think in the early years I probably hung on to it for a couple days, maybe, but anymore, and I don't care.
I feel like the longer you do comedy, the less that stuff bothers you, because when you first start out, you don't realize that that's happening to everybody. Even headliners that are super famous have off nights, and they bomb, and then the more you do it, you realize it's part of the process, and everybody has had this experience at least one time in their career, and so it's easier to kind of brush it off and get rid of that feeling and just kind of just let it go.
Yeah, and it's important to realize, even I tell newer guys too, even the best comedians still have moments where they bomb, and I think that maybe helped me. When I started out in Chicago, I saw Larry the Cable Guy bomb. I saw Lewis Black bomb firsthand, and and that's why I'm trying to be honest here, because if I say I never bomb, it's going to hit me the first show.
It's like as soon as this quarantine is over and we start doing live comedy again, there's that bomb coming. It's just it's planning its assault on you right now, Jeremy.
Yeah. So between every comedian is susceptible to it, and then likewise, you're never going to please 100% of the people.
No, absolutely.
So, and that's something I think new comics have a hard time comprehending. But the sooner you recognize that, and just recognize you zoom at your audience, you'll be in a much better place.
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good point. Very valid point. You really have to focus on it's. It's funny too, because it's easy. I've been caught in that too, where you're doing a show, and most of the audience is into it, but you see a couple people that are not, and then that becomes your focal point, where you're like, I gotta get them, and then it ends up being worse for everybody else. Instead, you should be like, I need to ignore them and focus on the people who are enjoying the show, and just not worry about those two people, because you can't, like you said, you can't
Right.
please everybody. Some
Yeah.
fun stuff I like to talk about. You've been doing comedy almost 20 years. What's the worst thing you've ever said to somebody from stage?
I hear you ask people this all the time, and I figured you would ask me. And the thing is, I don't know, because if you're aware, I do squeaky clean shows.
Yeah, yeah.
So, now way back in the day, when I was just doing bar shows, and I was still clean as far as a bar comedian or a club comedian would go, but I wasn't like church clean, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You were more TV clean. So
There
you've always been a clean comedian, working clean.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just different levels of clean through the years. So I did a bar show one time where this is like maybe 2010, maybe, where the booker hired me to headline, and they said you can give you you got like $150 stipend to give to an opening act, or you can just do the extra 30 minutes and keep. And I was like, all right, I'll be doing 90-minute show tonight, man.
Oh wow.
So there was the show actually went really well, but about the hour 15 mark, one lady in the front got like just loud, and I kept going at her, and then she quiet for a little bit, and then here she'd come again, and eventually I had enough, and I said, this is your last warning. Everybody else is sick of it too. If you do it again, I'm going to make you cry. And so, okay. Well, 2 minutes go by, and then here she comes. I said, I am surprised you have made it sitting in that chair so long, as big as you are. I thought it would have collapsed by now.
Oh, damn.
And then everybody's like, oh. And she's like, whoa, what'd I do? You know how they are, right?
Yeah. Why are you picking on me? I've just been sitting here heckling.
Yeah.
Being obnoxious.
And so that was just the beginning. For the sake of my career, I will not elaborate on what else I might have said after that.
That's fine. I don't blame you. Yeah, you don't want my podcast coming back and that one sound bite. You're like, oh no, I ruined Jeremy. And obviously you listen to the podcast, so you know what the final question is. What's something that you're proud of, whether it's personal or professionally, that you've achieved so far in life?
Boy, it's tough to say, because on one hand, my biggest goal was to go full time, and I did that, and so maybe that's the biggest accomplishment. On top of that, boy, it sure feels good to. I have pulled up alongside me several new comedians and kind of guided them, told them what I know, and then they've gone on to do big things. And so it's really cool to see that also. So maybe between those two, the comedy special, I would say, but who knows what platform it's going to end up on. So if it's just the only thing on my YouTube channel, then I won't be too excited about it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I know exactly what you mean. Oh, that's great.
One of those, I'd say, I've been flown to LA on 2 separate occasions, which are, didn't pan out. That's why I'm coming to you from the middle of Illinois. But just the fact that I'd be flown out there, that's pretty cool too.
Oh, absolutely. What'd you get flown out for, if you don't mind me asking, or if you can talk about it? Just out of curiosity.
One was Spike TV was trying to develop a late night talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was one of the people they flew out for that to kind of, I don't know how to, not really.
Audition or?
It wasn't really it was like a step beyond audition where they're.
Oh, okay. So kind of like an interview.
Sort of interview and, kind of feeling things out. And then the other, do you recall the TV show Man vs. Food?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, same concept. They're going to do Man versus Booze, where you would go to, you'd go to all these bars and do the drinking challenges and stuff.
Oh, and that sounds like my cup of tea.
So between the two, I got flown out for both. So what's interesting, though, is neither show actually came to fruition as far as I'm aware. So it's not like I did, not like I was bypassed. It seems like they scrapped the idea for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
all that happens a lot, I feel like.
Yeah. So. And so, boy, my career took a whole different turn from Man versus Booze to doing church shows,
Yeah, right. Oh, that's great. Well, where can people find you on the social media? Go ahead and plug your sites and whatnot.
It's at Jeremy Nunes for Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, Jeremy Nunes, and then my podcast, the Back Table Podcast, where me and another comedian I've worked with through the years share stories of what we did on the road together.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Sounds like a good
time. If we work together, Dave, maybe I can get you on there, but I don't have any stories to share with you since we've never actually worked together.
Or met in real life.
Yeah.
We were supposed to meet when I was in Illinois one time, but my schedule got way too tight.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yep.
So it happens. Well, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
All right, Dan. Thank you, man.
The Art of Bombing is a Blitz Entertainment production. Hosted and produced by Dan Bublitz Jr., The Art of Bombing intro music was written and performed by John Holt. All other music used in this podcast was under the Creative Commons license. If you would like to help The Art of Bombing, you can do so by subscribing, rating, and reviewing our show on whatever podcast application you use to listen to The Art of Bombing. For previous episodes, blogs, and more, visit artofbombingpod.com. Have a great week, and remember, stay safe so you can live to love.